A few days ago, I had a request to do a video rating people's drafts on Twitter. So here we are. You've sent me your drafts. Now it's time for me to rate them. Okay, starting off, we've got an avid follower of the channel for a long time. Thank you, Mitch, for all your support on the channel, and thank you for sending in this draft. Mitch has got Onana in goal, Dunk, Saliba, Chilwell, Colwill, Saka, Gibbs, White, Nakamba, Rashford, Salah, Haaland. He's got all the early captaincies covered. I actually think Chelsea, their best captain could well be Ben Chilwell, so I can see why he's thinking of going that way. For me, all the bases are covered. That defence is lovely. All of those guys I expect to get clean sheet, passing bonus. And then with Chilwell, of course, he's got the advantage of good attacking potential for Chelsea. Onana, you'll see a bit of a trend of him across all the tweets I've got of drafts, basically. He's by far and away the most popular goalkeeper of the Skyff Twitter community. Gibbs White, I really like him for the captaincy for that Forest game. I think he's probably the best captain on that day. Nakamba, we all know he's got 4 tackles per game in the Championship. Going to be playing regularly for Luton. I think he's probably the best enabler. And then Mitch has squeezed in. Basically, the debate is on the first week in Sky whether to have the big 3 midfielders across those first 3 captaincies. So you've got a Liverpool captaincy, an Arsenal captaincy, and a Man United captaincy to cover. One of those I'm personally covering with a defender, but Mitch has gone all in with the most popular picks from each day, which I really like the idea of, and the rest of the team is absolutely lovely. So this one gets a 10. Next up, we got the man whose video's idea this was. Now, Gordon, I'm trying not to roast you hard, but this is just a different opinion to mine in terms of where you're going with your team. So in my opinion, it's an 8 out of 10. I'll talk through it, but for you, I can see why you've gone for each of these players, basically. Onana in goal, by far and away the most popular, as I said, goalkeeper amongst the Sky Twitter community. He's gone for him as captain on that opening day as well. I think a clean sheet v Wolves is very likely. Wolves have completely been depleted in terms of their playing squad. Not sure they're going to be able to score at Old Trafford, which makes me think Onana's going to do good. Dunk and Saliba, I think, are fantastic options. Dunk played in pre-season, so all the doubt about him being able to start, I think, has gone away. He's going to start that Luton at home fixture. I like Saliba as well. I think he's pretty nailed in that Arsenal team. Akanji and Amadozic, I'm a little bit unsure of. Amadozic, I don't mind. I think he's going to be starting for Sheffield United. How many points he's actually realistically going to get against Nottingham Forest, I'm not too sure, so I'd be a little bit doubtful of him. Akanji, just with all the defenders that Man City have in their squad now, even though he played a lot of games last season, I'm just not sure he's going to feature with Guardiola in the squad. Yeah, that's just my opinion. You know, you might have a different insight into Man City than I do, which is what the game's all about at the end of the day. But for me, I think I'd be picking probably a more secure Man City player, or maybe going for someone like Rodri in midfield or Enzo Fernandez instead. Saka and Salah to cover both the captaincies. There is a West Ham, well, sort of single game day coming up. I think they play Luton in that single game day. It's obvious Gordon's trying to cover that already by going for Ben Rama. I don't like Ben Rama personally. I don't think he's nailed on to start. Obviously, when he does start, he takes the penalties, which makes him a really nice option. But for me, the West Ham fixtures are really tough. You can't put your hat on Ben Rama starting. So for me, to be honest, I'm not going with a West Ham player at all. And I'm just going for someone like Nakamba, who can cover the captaincy too, but you'd expect to play every game. I think Bissouma's a great shout. It looks like he's favoured by the new Tottenham manager to play in that centre midfield spot. He's also been given the number 8 shirt, which makes me think he's going to be starting every game. We all know how Højbjerg did in that position in seasons gone past, really well passing tackle bonus. I think Bissouma will continue in that mould. Haaland and Watkins up front. I really like Watkins. I think there's a Sunday in game week 2 where he plays Everton. I think he's a really good captaincy for that day, with the alternative being Chelsea away to West Ham. I think Watkins at home to Everton is probably the best captain on that day, and it's clear to see you've gone with him for that. I've given you a 8 because there are players in there that I'm not too sure about. Hopefully you respect my opinion, mate, and thank you for the video suggestion. Next up, we've got Steve Cheek. Again, he's gone for Onana in goal. I really like the shout of Martinez in defence. I think Man United, they kept the most clean sheets in the league last season, and Martinez did really well for passing bonus, and I think he's going to be favoured by Erik ten Hag in that left centre-back spot. And with Onana being in goal as well, I think Man United are going to keep more possession. He's going to make even more passes, and I think he's going to challenge Lewis Dunk for that, top defender spot, basically. And he's only 0.1 more. Stones, I think he's going to be a safe starter. That midfield position seems to be on lock for him. Unfortunately for Stones, he didn't get a whole lot of passing bonus last season when he played in that position. So for me, I'd personally prefer someone like, you could go for Rodri or Ruben Dias, who I think might be a bit more secure for the passes. Obviously, I can see why you've gone for Stones. I'm just not too sure on his ability to get the passing bonus. I really like Colwell and Saliba. I think both of those are going to play and get some good passing numbers. Saka, again, best captain on that Saturday. Danilo for Nottingham Forest. I think I'd just go safe with Gibbs-White, really. I'm not sure there are many Forest players outside of Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson that will do really well. So, yeah, I'm just not too sure on Danilo. Rashford obviously covers you for the Man United captaincy. Norgard, I put him in my budget enablers little bit on the podcast and the latest draft that I've done. I think he is an option, but based on his tackle numbers last season, I just don't think he's as good as Nakamba, and he didn't have a great injury record either. I really like Haaland and Watkins up front. Obviously, Gordon previously had that front line as well. Watkins looking at that Everton home captaincy, which I really like. And obviously, Haaland is a shoo-in. I've given you a 9, mate, purely because I think you can do slightly better than Stones and slightly better than Norgard. Maybe Ruben Dias and Nakamba as alternatives will make that team a 10 for me. We've got Rich Darley up next, another guy that's been joining every stream and commenting on every video. I really appreciate your support, Rich. Your team's looking really good. I like Onana in goal. Martinez, you're covering the Man United captaincy with him. I really like that. Ruben Dias, solid starter for Man City. I think he's going to get a lot of passing bonus. I think given that Lewis Dunk started the pre-season game, I reckon you can sneak him back in now for Estupinian. I'm pretty sure you will have already done that anyway because you sent this team in before the Brighton pre-season team got announced. So, yeah, I'd stick Lewis Dunk back in for Estupinian, basically. I like Gabriel. Looks like you're covering the Arsenal captaincy with that one. I don't know. I think I'd rather go for Saka just because he's going to be the most popular, but Gabriel obviously has a good chance of returning. You've gone for the bonus magnets in midfield, which I really like. You know, you can keep those guys in all season without having to change them, basically. Rodri's going to get you passing and tackles pretty much every game. Salah, probably the best captain on the Sunday. Nakamba, he's obviously the best budget enabler in my opinion. And then Gibbs-White, probably the best captain against Sheffield United. And Fernandez, I think is going to be a great bonus points magnet too. And then Haaland up front. Mate, I think this team's literally a 9.5. If you change Estupinian for Dunk, I reckon you're a 10. Next up then, we've got FPL NobleGen. This is a great guy to follow on Twitter. He does lots of cool FPL quiz challenges, which I really enjoy taking part in. This team's very different to the other ones we've seen. You can see he's a bit of a rogue. He's a rogue NobleGen with the picks he's made. Martinez in goal. I haven't seen Martinez in really any drafts yet. 0.2 million less than Onana. And I actually think across the season, they're going to score very similarly in terms of points. I really do think Villa are going to step it up this year, keep a good amount of clean sheets and probably concede some shots, allowing Martinez to get saves bonus. I think we're going to see a similar points return to when he first signed for Villa, when he was getting, 200 plus points in both FPL and Sky. I've talked about John Stones before. I think he's a great option. I just don't think he's as nailed for passing bonus as Ruben Dias. So, yeah, I'd probably go for someone different than Stones. Maybe the other Arsenal defenders, Saliba or Gabriel. That could be an option for you. Or maybe just downgrading, well, changing to a midfielder like Rodri or something like that. Estupinian, I think, can now be changed for Lewis Dunk. And as for Timber, I do think he's going to play for Arsenal. Looks like Zinchenko's out, and he was pretty good in the Community Shield at left back. So I think his spot's pretty safe. I would personally prefer a Saliba or Gabriel, though, just because their passing numbers are probably going to be a bit better. Whether you can fit that into your budget, I guess, remains to be seen. But yeah, I just go for a more solid Arsenal centre-back, basically, with a bit more goal threat. Martinelli, I really like him as an option. And you're obviously hedging against the Sakas. I don't mind that with Martinelli, to be fair. I think he could do really well. Eze's one of your captaincies. I don't think Eze's the kind of player I'd be picking in Sky. When looking at midfielders at that kind of price, you either want supreme, like, attacking returns or solid bonus points. I'm just not sure Eze ticks that box. Same with Kevin De Bruyne. He had one season in Sky where he was the top scoring player out of everyone. But that was because he got the level of attacking returns that De Bruyne did, but because he backed it up with getting passing bonus pretty much every game. He doesn't seem to do that for Man City anymore. Well, he could be a good captaincy option in that Burnley game. I don't think he's going to light the world up in Sky, and I think you could probably spend your money elsewhere. I don't mind the Garnacho shout for Man United, but I think he's a bit too different. Like, he probably won't be the top scoring player, in my opinion, for Man United that day. Haaland and Calvert-Lewin up top. I think just for me, I don't like going too different at the start, which is why I've given this team an 8 out of 10. I can see you're thinking you want to go different and try and get ahead at the start, which is totally understandable. I just think there's too many risks in this team. Personally, for me anyway, you want to go for the tried and trusted players that get regular bonus points. And you don't want to lose everything at the start in Sky because it's a long, old marathon Sky with captains every day. You can certainly, you're not going to win the game from the start, but you can certainly put yourself out of the running, and I think you could be at risk of doing that with too many different picks in this team. Anyway, just my opinion, mate. The game's all about playing it your way, so if you disagree with me, no problem at all. Getting towards the end now, a good mate of mine, Ben Skyff. I'd rate this team a 10 out of 10 straight off the bat, really. He's got every captaincy covered with a solid option. Good, solid starting players that get regular bonus or really high levels of attacking returns. He's got pretty much the best captain every game day. I can't really comment much more on this team. I mean, if you wanted, sorry Ben, to get people to copy your team. If you wanted to copy a team, right, that would get you off to a solid start in Sky, just go with this. And then he plans to do Gibbs White to Jackson in game week 2 to cover the captaincy for Chelsea. So I really like this team. And yeah, Ben, if you I think this team's pretty much perfect. It's not the 11 I'm going for. I'm going slightly different, but I can't critique it. You know, this is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. We've got Face Jabber next, which is a fantastic Twitter handle. Again, this is another 10 out of 10 team for me. Every captaincy is covered. It's got a really good option for each day. Bonus points magnets galore. Players that are going to start every game. It just ticks all the boxes. Similar to Ben's team, really. Yeah, I mean, got Chilwell as cover for the Chelsea captaincy, which I really like. He looks really attacking, and I think he could be a good alternative to the Chelsea strikers or Ollie Watkins. So I can't fault this team. Another 10 out of 10. James Hyde's team is up next. I've given this a 9 purely because I'm not too sure about Jackson, and I'm pretty sure Awoniyi, if I've said that correctly, is injured. So maybe going for someone like Martinez instead of Jackson at a similar price, and then potentially Gibbs White instead of the injured Awoniyi would make this team a 10 out of 10. Other than that, though, I mean, I've spoken about pretty much all of the rest of the players you've got on that team. You've got the best players pretty much in every position, apart from, for me at least, Jackson and Awoniyi. So if you swap them out for the options I suggested, this gets a 10 from me. Amateur FM up next, and another 9 out of 10 team. There's one player that I would argue against in this squad, which is why I can't give it a 10, and that's Eze. I just think you could go for someone like Enzo Fernandez in that team, who will probably score better, purely because in Sky, the bonus points are so important. Yeah, he will get pretty much tackles and passes every game. That's 5 points per game minimum, whereas Eze, to match his total, will need to get an assist every game he plays. Whilst he's great, Eze, and I think he's a good option, I just think the bonus points are going to be much safer and end up with much more points towards the end of the season, basically. So I'd swap Eze out for Enzo Fernandez, and then that team is absolutely perfect. And then last but in no means least, we've got FPL Fish. I'm giving this team a 9.5 out of 10, basically. It's got a similar squad structure to what we've seen from other players. The one slight change, I just do Stones to Diaz, basically. You got 1.4 million in the bank, so for me, it's worth the upgrade. Purely because I think Diaz is better for passing bonus than John Stones. John Stones might have a slight attacking advantage, but I think the fact that Ruben Diaz is pretty much guaranteed to get passing bonus every game, where Stones might miss it on, well, more than the odd occasion like he did last season, I think it just makes Diaz a better option. Overall, though, I mean, that's such a minor point, which is why I've given this team a 9.5. I think you'd be absolutely fine to start off with this team. Alright, and that's the end of the video. If your team was featured in here, please let me know in the comments what you thought of my rating and if you'll be changing anything as a result of it. I don't claim to be the arbiter of Skyff or anything, but it's just useful to get different people's opinions on your team, isn't it? So please don't take what I say as gospel. You know, I'm no god or expert in terms of how football's going to go or how Skyff's going to play out. Ultimately, the teams we pick are out of our control at the end of the day, but hopefully I've provided some insight there into your teams. If you didn't get featured in this video, hopefully there's a draft there that's either the same or very similar to what your team looks like, and you can pick, you know, tits and tats out of that video to upgrade or change your team maybe. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating and subscribe to my channel, which should be just there, and I'll catch you in the next one.